is there a particular woman in your religious scriptures who inspires you? And if so, could you say how and why?
So is there a particular woman in my scriptures who inspires me? If so, how and why? So the thing is, I'm a big fan of ordinary people, to be honest. So when others are admiring famous people, even famous people of faith, I'm like, yeah, but you know, such and such an ordinary person are amazing for their kindness or generosity or ability to be gracious in the face of awful things or whatever. So for me, as soon as I saw this question, I thought of the unnamed women of the Bible. There are hundreds of unnamed women in the Bible, hundreds of them. And many women too are just identified just in relation to men. So we have wife of such and daughter of such and sister of such and such. And the Christian scriptures, obviously written by men, have rendered many women nameless, but they haven't erased some brilliant stories. And these women, for me, these nameless but not invisible women are, I think, are amazing. It seems no one bothered to learn their names or to pass them on so their names could be remembered. But in any event, these nameless women live on in their stories. And I thought I'd just tell you quickly about three of my favorites. And they're known in their nameless states as the woman at the well, the bleeding woman, and the woman caught in adultery. The story first of the woman at the well, or the Samaritan woman. Jesus went on a journey with his disciples and he was tired, so he sat down by this well. And while his friends went into the town to buy food, along came this woman with no name in the heat of the midday sun, gathering water from the town well. And it's been said that maybe she was there at the hottest part of the day to avoid meeting others from her town who could judge her for her lifestyle. And whatever she's doing there, the Jewish customs of the day meant that Jesus, as a Jewish man, should not have been speaking to her. Jesus isn't that big on people's social standing or on these rules of separation that human beings invent. And so he engages her in conversation and asks her for a drink from the well because he doesn't have anything to gather water with. And in the course of the conversation, Jesus tells her that he knows that she's had 3 husbands and that the man she currently has isn't her husband either. He knows all this juicy stuff of her life, but without any judgment is accepting of her and asks her for a drink anyway. And when his disciples return, they're a bit surprised to see him talking with a woman, but they don't say anything. And the next thing we know, she's run off, leaving this jar of water behind, and she's gone to town to tell everyone to come and meet the man who told her everything that she ever did. And I love her because she's so excited and it bubbled from her. She wanted to tell other people about her encounter. She's one of the first evangelists of the Christian church, and she has no name. But she wants to share her experience. She doesn't want to keep this encounter to herself. She doesn't just share the story. She wants to bring people along to see for themselves. And I just love her. Lady Nameless, as I like to think of her. And then there's the bleeding woman, again, nameless, known only by her condition, her illness, not deserving, it seems, of a name. Jesus was surrounded by this crowd on his way to somewhere else, and this woman who'd been bleeding for 12 years knew that if she could just get close enough to touch the edge of his cloak, she would be healed. But as she touches his clothes, Jesus feels this power go out of him, and he stops in his tracks to find out who touched him, in the midst of a crowd of people all around him. Her bleeding stopped as soon as she touched even the edge of his clothes. And Jesus looked to find her in this crowd and says to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well." This bleeding woman, without a name for us to remember her by, is called daughter by Jesus. One who is precious, a daughter, a woman who Jesus singles out in the midst of this whole crowd of people to say her faith has made her well. I love her. Another wonderful Lady Nameless. And then there's the woman caught in adultery. What a way to go down in history, ladies and gentlemen. No other name by which to remember her. But to test Jesus, we're told the Pharisees brought him a woman who had been caught in adultery. According to the law, they said she should be stoned. Jesus said, "Okay, let anyone among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." And then Jesus bent down and just carries on writing on the ground with his finger in the dust. We've no idea what he was writing. He could have been like just drawing pictures of fish. We have no idea. When he looks up, all the people are gone. No one has thrown a stone. I like to think of the sound of all the stones dropping from their fingers as they realise what he said to them and turn and shuffle off in their sandals in the dirt. And Jesus asked this woman if anyone has condemned her, and she says no. And he says, then I'm not going to condemn you either. And he just tells her to go, just go and live differently. A woman caught in adultery partnered with Jesus to teach a bunch of bloodthirsty men that they're not perfect either. And I can imagine her cowering in terror at Jesus's feet, waiting to hear the signal for them all to kill her. She was used by the men as a test for Jesus, and yet they're the ones who failed. She barely says a word, but I love her. Another lady nameless. To all of us, without fame, without names, I just think our lives can tell powerful stories. The end.
Indeed, beautiful, beautiful. The unnamed women of the Bible. Beautiful stories and very, very real. Today, you know, in my interfaith work, I meet many women, obviously, and there are such stewards of faith and such enthusiasm, but very incognito. Anyhow, thank you very much. So I can see you've got the enthusiasm of those unnamed women. And so just what a little question, I can see the inspiration they give you. And so just tell me why they inspire you. You know, just
because they have no names, because they don't even need their names and their stories speak for them anyway. I just love that about them. So all of these men, you know, we remember all of these men from the Bible. We remember Paul, and we remember Jesus, and we remember Peter, and we remember Moses, and we remember endless ones. And even if you ask a church full of Christians, name you as many women as you can from the Bible, I bet they can barely name a handful of women. There are loads of named women as well, but I bet they can barely remember them. And the stories for me that impact me are the stories of these nameless women. I'm just so struck by the fact that there are so many of them, that they have no names, and yet they're used to teach generations and generations of Christians for thousands of years to come.
Well, thank you. You've made them very real for us.
So I've been reflecting, and Suzanne, that was wonderful. I got two women in mind who I truly respect and admire from within the Sikh faith. And these are two women who demonstrate what I view to be all qualities of being a woman: compassion, daya, love, prem, nimrata, humility, but also strength, resilience, and determination. Qualities which I think are needed to be a successful person and contributor to society, but also one's family. The first woman that I admire and that I think of is Guru Angad Dev Ji's wife, Mata Kiri Ji, right? So that's our second Guru's wife. And she supported her husband, the Guru, in his role, but she was the one who set up the Guru's Langar. What we now see is that service that Sikhs provide across the globe of the free kitchen, and one of the reasons for admiration for it is that she is also mentioned within the Guru Granth Sahib. She is the only woman, I think, who is mentioned within the Guru Granth Sahib. And there's a quote which says, Balwand says that Kivi, the Guru's wife, is a noble woman who gives soothing, leafy shade to all. She distributes the bounty of the Guru's Langar. The kheer, the rice pudding and ghee, is like sweet ambrosia. Right, so this is a woman who is described as a good person. She is the one who provides shelter and protection to others. And when I am thinking of that, of what she does and how that practice of Langar is continued now, over 550 years after the founding of, after the birth of Guru Nanak, one of the things I think about is how throughout the Guru Granth Sahib there are quotes which talk about caring and welfare for others. And she embodies those teachings that are embodied within our eternal Guru, the Guru Granth Sahib. And one of those quotes I would like to say, would like to read out is, "The God-conscious being delights in doing good deeds for others. The God-conscious being acts in the common good." Right? And I think that's one of the important themes that I think is important with reference to recognizing these women, is because of that recognition of how their acts contribute to the common good. And that will feed into my answer for question 3 at a bit of a later time. So alongside Mata Giri, another woman who really inspires me is the wife of our 9th Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, who was martyred for defending the religious freedoms of the Hindu Pandits. And she was the mother of Guru Gobind Singh, our 10th Guru, but also she was the grandmother of to 4 grandsons who were all martyred. She had the strength and determination as a wife to lead a strong and determined life, to raise her son Guru Gobind Singh Ji, but also as a grandmother, she fulfilled her duty in raising grandchildren, but also making sure that they were steadfast in their faith and defending their faith. So those are 2 women on 2 different sides of the coin. One which demonstrates that compassion, that prem, that love, and then Mata Gujriji, who demonstrates that strength, that fortitude, and that resilience and determination, still embracing those concepts of their compassion, prem, love, and humility. So those are the 2 women that really stand out for me within Sikhi. Women who I view as being on 2 different sides of the coin, doing 2 different important roles, which are essential. And I think one of the other things that I would like to highlight is that these women demonstrate the importance of community and family, which are so essential for if we are to have a peaceful and productive world.
2 interesting people who really, as you say, 2 sides of the coin here. What was coming up for me was nurturing, nurturing with food, but that was coming up for me very strongly, this nurturing. And I can see that they really have inspired you. And it's nice to read about them again, isn't it? To go into their personalities again.
Yes.
And feel their virtues, if you like, their values. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
So I'd like to ask Lakshmi, are you there?
Namaste to all of you, and I'm Lakshmi Vyas. I will just give you a short introduction. I was born and brought up in Mumbai in a traditional joint family. The roots were strong, and I had a mixed culture of Tamil and Malayalam too. And of course, our family was such that traditional, and I was exposed to Carnatic music, which I learned for 10 years. So this background tells me that one of my favorite goddess from Hinduism that I would like to talk about today is Devi Saraswati. That is goddess Saraswati. She is actually the goddess of education and knowledge. And that's one of the reasons why I would like to portray her, Saraswati, to all of you. The goddess who appeals to me once again is Saraswati. There are other goddesses like Lakshmi, Parvati, Durga, etc., who are also equally powerful. But Saraswati is strongly associated with flowing water in her role as a goddess of knowledge. As goddess of knowledge, she possesses 4 arms and is usually shown wearing spotless white sari and seated with a white lotus flower and riding with a swan. So this is her characteristic. Actually, I wanted to show her photo so that all of you could see her. So Saraswati is the goddess of learning, and the meaning of the goddess in association of all symbols with her signifies that if a learner really understands and pursues the connotative and denotative meaning of goddess, the goddess makes herself available and all the knowledge that is bestowed on the people who are interested on it. There are 7 or 8 qualities in Devi Saraswati, which I will very quickly go through. Saraswati is goddess of learning, and this feminine aspect signifies creativity. Number 2, white color of the goddess signifies spotless character and immaculate mind. Number 3, seated on inverted white lotus, meaning to be in search of light of knowledge. 4, white swan is the vehicle of goddess, and this is indicative of inquisitiveness. Next, goddess is playing veena, that is, she is playing veena is an instrument. This signifies the harmony of all mental agencies and attitudes and strings. The goddess is also worshipped with palash flowers, which is odorless, and this is the symbol indicative of being free from putrefied preconceptions. And lastly, we have 2 celebrations for Devi Saraswati in Hinduism. Once during the month of February, January, I think it was, we went through Basant Panchami. So Basant Panchami is celebration for Devi Saraswati. And the next one is during Navratri, when we offer books as puja. Pustak Puja, it is called as, and this is what we do for Devi Saraswati. So from my point of view, I'm immensely dedicated to Devi Saraswati because I'm very fond of education, and I like every person who is more educated and well educated, they can do something to the society. So Goddess Saraswati is a revered and a popular household name among the Hindus. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was very good. Yes, I'm a Saraswati fan too, as you know. Goddess of wisdom too. Yes, yes. But thank you. That was very inspiring.